Hello, hello, hello. I'm in the glow. Alrighty. If you've never been to my channel, my name is Lana Labonte. I'm here to uplift, support, inspire, and hopefully empower you in some way, shape, or form. Because through my personal life experience, I share what revelations come from life. This life has dealt me some interesting cards over the years. I am a cat of many lives. And it's amazing to me. Sometimes I'm reflecting, going, oh, how is it possible that I have had so many lives in just this one alone? I am only 47, going to be 48 this summer, and sometimes I'm just like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Shows you how resilient you are. Shows you the strength of your will, your character. It humbles the fuck out of you too. It reminds you not to take life so damn serious. Because we do that. We humans. We're like, my bullshit, my BS, my belief systems, but they're mine. And you must agree with me. If you don't agree with me, off with your head. We are just crazy humans out here playing all these monkey games, thinking that if you don't go along to get along, you need to go away. And you know, the truth of the matter is, in my life, that I've been so humbled. I have been on the receiving end and the giving end of some serious shit. But you know, been humbled so deeply at recognizing that had I not had those experiences, I would not understand what I was willing to accept and how I felt as a result of my experiences, that the golden rule still applies. Religious or not, it's the humane rule. Do unto others as you would want done unto you. And so when you come from that space of you didn't like the way you were treated at a certain point in your life, when you know better, you have the moral obligation to stand in integrity and to do better. So know better, do better. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. So be kind on yourself too, because so many of us, and I am one of those, I'm very hard on myself. Whew. My mind, it just like shoulds on me like you wouldn't believe. You should have known better. You shoulda, 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 shoulda. And nobody needs to be shoulding on themselves. We got enough craziness out there in the world that if you haven't been brought to your knees and had your come to Jesus moments lately, boy, you ain't human. Because I know we are all going through this together. It's a collective collaboration. And what's going on with me, I know is going on around me, because we are all contributing to the energies in the world, in the universe. That's why, as a collective, no man is an island. We are all drops in the ocean. We are all part of the bigger picture. So even if you want to say, oh, that's not me. Oh, I don't like that. Whenever you point a finger, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you to remind you, to humble you. You've been there. You might be there. Or you're going to be there at some point. So the Holy Trinity, everything comes in 3s. That's also one of my infamous numbers. I am the oldest of 3 women. 3 things happen to me in 3s. Like when I get hit hard. When it rains, it storms. And it's happened so many times in my past that I just recognize, okay, I don't want to turn around and be the negative Nancy, but I also don't want to be the Pollyanna and say, oh, it'll be okay, and brush it under the carpet. No, I've done that enough in my life. And during this period of time, these past couple of years, we're all going through some form of grief. The grief of knowing that things are not going to ever be the way they were before. That the world is completely, it's a new world. Now it's up to us to determine, to create the new, not keep being stuck to the past. But first, in order to acknowledge all this stuff and even move forward, you gotta sit in that shit. You gotta like mourn, because change is like death. And it's always happening. No matter how subtle or profound, it is occurring at all times. Whether it's a major life change or just it's the loss of a loved one, or the change in your daily routine, a job, a wedding, a funeral, whatever it is, the loss of a pet. Whatever it is a death. It's a mini death, it's a major death. Change and death are essentially the same thing. So when change happens, we have to go through a grieving process, the stages of grief. The emotions, like the ocean, we need to ride our waves, not run from them, hide from them, dismiss them, or suppress them. Because when we do that stuff, it keeps coming back up like a riptide, and it will overwhelm you. Grief does that. And if you don't ride the waves of grief and go through the cycles and the stages of grief in the time that you need to, they will just keep arising at different points in your life, usually triggered by another form of change or grief. Same thing. How do I know this? Because I'm speaking from my personal experience. For all the times I didn't heal or fully resolve trauma in my past, I was represented, go figure. Languaging makes a whole lot of difference here. I was represented another opportunity. Every trigger is an opportunity for you to confront what is still remaining unresolved and unhealed within you. Triggers are essentially showing you work to do. They're showing you the shit that you've been blinding yourself from, ignoring, neglecting your inner child. So if you keep on pushing it away, oh, just let me keep myself busy, let me stuff it down with food, let me just act like it doesn't bother me. Poo-poo on yourself, literally. When you do that, it's like the ball pushing it under the water, the air ball, and it just comes up back in your face again, and then you're like sitting there going, why does this always happen to me? And then you're wondering, playing the victim, when the reality is you're the perpetrator. We want to claim that it was done to us, but we're the ones doing it to ourselves. Whew, that's humbling. That's some serious humble pie, and that doesn't taste so good. I say this because over this past week and a half, I've literally had to like step back and disengage. I've had people reach out to me, not to check on me necessarily. I've only had a few people checking on me. Not so much to check on me, but to see if I was available for them. And like I said in my last video, I'm not calling anybody out. What I'm expressing and sharing of my personal experience is how available I have been in the past, to where people who have been entitled, who have had access to me, haven't seen me for me, but what I was available to give to them. So some would call that opportunist. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a dirty word, but it's the person. It is determined whether it is the survivor mode or the thriver mode, because an opportunist in thrival mode will see an opportunity and go for it, and it doesn't mean anybody's being taken advantage of or for granted. The survivor mode, a person who's in survival mode who sees an opportunity, it's a taking. I'm going to grab that and not give back. Because when you're thriving, you're overflowing with reserves and you're able to get and receive just as much as you're willing to give. And that's an equal balance. That's where we all should be, in harmony with the receptivity, the giving and the receiving, the willingness to receive as much as we give. But most of us aren't doing that. Most of us aren't even aware that we're not doing that. And then we wonder where the resentment came from, and the inner dialogue, the conflict. That inner conflict is you with you, not with the other people. The inner conflict The inability to receive is with you, not the others around you. You claim aren't giving to you. Oh, there's another humble pie to take a munch on. Like, really sit with that. And are you one of those people? Because I'm here to confess my sins. No, I'm here to confess my revelations. There's nothing sinning about it. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And when you know better, you can do better. But don't shit on yourself. So the people that have triggered me in reaching out, feeling entitled to my being, my giving, not showing up to say, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Because essentially, and this is nobody in particular, I'm using this as a general term, okay? Because this has happened with a few people for me. And I had to check in with myself. All they did was serve as the catalyst. We can play the victim, but we're not the victim of anybody else unless we allow it, which essentially is our choosing. So that's the true perpetrator, is you. And though we want to believe it's not my fault, we don't want to take personal responsibility, it takes a whole lot of vulnerability, courage, and integrity to stand in alignment with who you are and what you do, as opposed to allowing others to steal your power or to hand it over freely and say, you did this to me. Again, remember those 3 fingers pointing back at you. Pointing the finger at another for doing something to you is not the result of their actions, but the result of your standards. Higher or lower, your accessibility, always there, and the acknowledgement that you even respond. Because showing you care, getting upset, shows there's something, there's a vested interest for you. And the other people too. Because sometimes when you set it up yourself and you say, listen, I'm not available, and they get upset, that's an opportunity for them to grow because they had an expectation of you. But you equally, in my case, may have an unspoken, uncommunicated expectation that if you give, there's receptivity. So we humans, we sometimes need to communicate this a little better. Like, if you're showing up to me, what are you bringing me? What are you offering me? Are you somebody who regularly also reciprocates, or are you someone who just shows up when you need something? And you may be one of those people out there that is checking your circle. Is it getting smaller? Is it getting larger? Are you attracting quality people into your life as opposed to just users and abusers? Because first off, if you're attracting users and abusers, then that's a question of how are you using and abusing yourself? Because we attract where we're at. That's the energy that we draw to us. We magnetize it. So the more you're abusing and using yourself in the wrong ways, people are going to show up energetically, whether they're aware of it or not, and just wake you up to it. So that's how they serve as a catalyst. Instead of playing the victim, instead of handing over your power, you can look at them and go, wow, thank you for making me aware of how much I'd been neglecting myself for the needs of others, for your needs, for example. And I literally, of course, I got upset in some cases, and I was in a space of like, what the fuck? You know, like I actually had to sit with that shit. And I was okay with it, because you know, usually in my past, I was not as honest with myself as I had to be in the past week and a half. I was like, holy crap. Wow. I actually had to go through tracing it back to where it all began. And part of that was acknowledging my inability to grieve. And I expressed this in my last video. I don't grieve well. I don't deal well with death, and in some cases change. I do actually thrive in change. In a lot of my life, new circumstances, new job, new country, new city, moving. For me, that's my jam. I totally love to go and meet people. I can mix and mingle. I'm a networker. I meet people on planes. I was talking to my girlfriend about that the other day. You know how when we lived in Italy, it was like we were just celebrities. It was another life back then. And it's like, wow, I know I'm good with some things in the form of change. But when it comes to death, when it comes to having having the rug pulled out from underneath me, especially in the cases where I didn't make the choice to change. Because when you don't make the choice, the universe, God, will do one of these. We're going to make the choice because you're not taking your best interest at heart here. And so the more you hold out, it's going to be pulled out. That was my experience, and not just once. It's happened a few times. So in this reflection, and like I shared about, grief is not my strong point. Because with Buddy's passing, and it brought up, because that's what happens when we go through trauma, when we're in the emotions, it stirs the pot of all the old past unresolved emotions. We relive all of our pain, all of our suffering, our struggles, our trauma, our grief. All of it comes to the surface all at once, as if you were experiencing every single trauma, every single struggle, pain, death, whatever it is, in this moment. And I reminded myself of that because that's one of the things we teach in Beyond Addiction. When I was like, oh yeah, how about that? 7 years ago, before I was just getting ready to close on my house. I was buying this house for me and Angel 7 years ago. I had to put her to sleep for her, And I was like, you can't make this stuff up. And then 2.5 years later, Buddy finds me. And here I am 7 years later, to almost the same time frame, with the exception of the time of me having my surgery and then coming home and having to put Buddy to sleep, that I'm like shaking my head going, wow, I'm here again. This is tough. It wasn't what I expected. It was not what I wanted, obviously. And then I was also reminded of his connection to Tom and the shit I had to deal with him, because I was laying to rest all of that past and all that bullshit and my resentment toward him. When my mother passed in 2018, I had to deal with him and his fucking temper tantrums over in Omaha, with me and my sisters trying to handle my mother's being on life support and having to make the choice to take her off the life support, and then the death and the funeral arrangements and all the stuff that you have to go through to deal with adult responsibilities. And I had a lot of built up resentment, and I know that was the main one. Because here I am struggling and dealing with the passing of my mom, and I got this fucking asshole throwing temper tantrums, getting pissed off, acting out, creating tension even more so between me and my family. Even on the drive back home, because we had to get home because Buddy locked himself in the house, and instead of allowing me to give the key to my neighbor, just let him in and out of the back door, where he slid the door thing locked. And we get into a fight on the way home, because again, he's pissed off because he's driving and I'm exhausted. And he wanted to get home. And we get home, and Buddy has shit all over the house. He had gotten up on my bed, totally destroyed the electric cord for my M-Joy, and then on top of which you've got an ink pen, busted that. There was ink all over my bed. My bed was destroyed. I have to clean up the shit. I have to clean up my bed. Tom just waltzes in and goes to the other bedroom, goes to sleep, and I'm left to clean up the mess by myself. After mourning my mother's death, not even mourning, dealing with that shit. So this stirred all this fucking shit up for me, because not long after that, I'm going through the waves and I'm not really able to process, because I also have my birthday coming up not long after that, and I wanted to scream. I wanted to express myself. I wanted to get it out of my system. And with that motherfucker, I couldn't do shit. Should have left his ass in Kauai. That's all I'm going to say right here. And at one point, he had the audacity to say to me, how long are you going to milk this? When I said, I'm struggling over here with my mom's passing. How long are you going to milk this? Like, he was poking and provoking me. I was like, oh, no, you didn't. And I'm not a violent person. I went off on him and I said, that's not acceptable. I know what I ended up doing is I ended up taking a long walk, because that's what I used to do back then. Because I know to move my body. I know not to take things out on others. I know to shake it out of myself, that it gets stuck in the body, that when we are agitated, irritated, emotionally charged, that's the time to move your body the most. Shaking it up, moving it out, because what you don't move gets stuck. And the paradox of the word emotion. Emotion is supposed to be energy and motion, but emotion typically gets stored in the body, which means it gets stuck, and the energy gets stagnant, which means it is not energy and motion. Because emotions originate in the mind. They're attachments to expectations and the way you want things to be, and it's the resistance to the way they are and the needing them to meet what they're not. So many people think the emotions are in my heart. I feel this and I feel that. Well, it translates in the body because of the truth telling. So your body's always telling on you. It's telling on the mind. The truth in the body, when your mind is saying one thing and your body's saying, that's not true, that's where the discomfort comes from. That's where the dissing of your ease comes from. The mental construct gets called out by your body starts saying, liar, 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 ow, 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 ow. All those things, elevated heart rate, steaming, angry, all these emotions. First off, they show how attached you are and how much you care, how much you value, how much a priority you put on something, because you're ready to defend it to the death. That's in the mind, not in the body. But the body's trying to go, warning signal, warning signal, warning signal. This is not your truth. You are so caught up in your shit, you are disconnected from your body. Because if you're connected to your body, you're gonna be like, oh, my body's acting out. It's talking about something, like something's not right. Body alignment, misalignment in the mind. Like when your alignment in your body is off, or your structure of your skeletal system is crinkly and stiff, that's showing and telling on the mind. Misalignment in the body tells you when you're out of alignment of your mind. Like your integrity's off, your truth-telling body symptoms are all just going, ding, 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 ding. But if you're not connected to the body and you're diseasing your body, dissing yourself, dissing yourself in all these different ways, it's just going to keep coming up, coming up, coming up, until you're no longer charged, which signals that you have healed through it. You no longer attached to it. When the charge and the triggers don't exist anymore, that's showing you have gotten past it. So as I'm sharing this and this stuff was coming up, this is what I've been reflecting upon over the past week and a half. Was that even during that time, what he was doing was reminding me how, once again, in my past, I have had this natural, habitual, nurturing routine. Now I can say nurturing, but it truly is a martyr. And it actually was passed on from my mother. The way that I manifested, and I didn't even think about it, but it's a people pleaser thing. And I didn't even think about how mine was the nurturing people pleaser. Overdoing and giving for others while not allowing and receiving, facing where I neglected myself, and placed the needs of others above myself, above my own. Because even while he was here, it was like, if he said jump, it was like, with the exception of a few things, because we were working together and I thought we were working on a common goal, which we were apparently competing, and I never realized that, but that was the thing. He didn't communicate. It was more of keeping the peace. It was get shit done and just, I'll get to my own stuff later. I didn't sleep. I mean, I was doing so much stuff just to be able to survive, because I wasn't thriving. And so while I reflected upon this, it actually led to me with the appendectomy. It led to me having to call 911 because I had so much, see the appendix? The manifestation of the appendix, the appendectomy, the appendicitis, is deep disgust for someone. Now, first off, everything's going to originate with yourself. So I could say it was deep disgust with myself for allowing the situation to get as far as it did, to being in such a toxic relationship as I was, but it was also disgust with the individual I was dealing with too. So it was an overall, again, you attract where you're at. And if you don't set a standard, people will break you down. And they will be the catalyst. They will simply be the one who brings it to your attention. And you can say it's all them, but the truth of the matter is it's you allowing it. You not standing up for yourself, taking your power back. So this past week and a half, I realized all this stuff was coming up. And I was really leaning into it. I was like, wow. Oh, that's what it really was. And it goes back to my childhood. It's not the people in between. It goes back to what's the root. And there's no blame or shame in this. There is no, back when I was a child, just like anyone else out there, when you have to grow up quickly at a young age and you're not given the tools of how to deal with grief and how to take care of yourself, and you feel the obligation to take care of everyone else but yourself, that everyone else's needs matter first. Even religion says it, right? Be the martyr. You have to prove yourself. By proving yourself, nine times out of 10, when you're proving yourself, you're just trying to avoid rejection. It's people pleasing. And so even in the religious realms and circles, it's all, don't think of yourself. You're supposed to think and do for others. And especially for us women. You're supposed to take care of everybody else but your own. Oh, it's selfish when you take care of yourself. There's a whole guilting and manipulative way that it's even perpetuated on us humans. When in reality, if your cup isn't full, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so here I was recognizing, this is what this is coming from. This is stemming from my childhood. And because it was so far back, it became a routine, a habit. It became my natural flow. You can't change a pattern unless you recognize that it even exists. And that's what I had to come to. Holy crap. All this time, I've had this pattern that it's just my nature to be nurturing and take care of everybody and just be mother hen, big mama around holding the sacred space for everyone else. Because I didn't know how to be held. I didn't know how to be willing to receive. I didn't know that I was the one who also needed to give to myself and fill my own cup first. Now I speak about it, I talk about it, and I do take care of myself in many ways. But this was on an emotional level. This was on a recognizing and honoring where I'm grieving. Because I'm the runner. I literally was a runner most of my life. Marathon, short distance. I used to compete. I ran from relationships. Long distance was the best because when you're long distance, you don't see them all the time. These were some of the patterns. These are all underlying of the same pattern and theme. That I was able to go, wow, I have a pattern that I didn't even recognize until now. That's a big one. I'm 47. I think I got it all. I'm figuring out life. Things are great. I'm having all these downloads, this awareness. I've been awakened for most of my life. And then I'm like, fuck, here's another layer. We're all like onions, people. There's always going to be more to be revealed. There's always going to be another layer to peel away. This life is about strengthening you, showing you your resilience, developing your character in integrity and alignment with the whole soul purpose you came here to live. To be in alignment with the Holy Trinity. The mind, the body, and the spirit is the breath of life. And that taps you into your intuition and your soul purpose. When you tap into the spidey senses, the 5 senses, everything gets heightened. But see, you still got layers. Because there are layers to this shish. There are always going to be things that pop up. Also to remind you, hey, Did you get the lesson? Did you get the memo? Did you figure it out? Or are we going to have to repeat this lesson? Because life's going to go, I'm going to stick this in here, see if this kind of like reminds you of something, and see if you can discern, or if you need to learn the lesson again. Because I've had those little cosmic niggles and giggles where life's shown up to me and gone, we're back. Or somebody has the same qualities of a previous partner, or there's chemistry. Oh, to me, chemistry? We've been here, done that, because it's familiar. Chemistry is going, can you wiggle into this? You want to feel this again? You want to feel this again? Because what comes out on the other end, it's usually shit. And when you recognize that life is just serving you up a little niggle, a little reminder, and you can discern and see it for what it is as opposed to what you think and want it to be, you're on the road to a serious path, a vision, an alignment to your integrity. Because yeah, life is going to trip you up once in a while. But the more you're in your awareness, the more mindful you are of yourself, you really truly honor where you're at as opposed to trying to run from it and act like nothing's wrong. You know, when people reached out to me, there were a couple times I was like, they don't get it. But you know what? Here's the other bonus in all this. They don't have to. I'm the one who has to get it. That's the gift of being present in the moment and not going back into that old pattern of trying to prove yourself. Explain yourself. You don't have to fucking explain yourself to anybody. If you start to catch yourself even explaining yourself, just step back and take a deep breath. Why am I trying to explain myself to somebody? Because clearly you either have a fear of their rejection or you're feeling the need to prove yourself for their acceptance, which is the same thing, it's just worded differently. The idea that you feel the need to explain yourself means you need to step back and ask why. What is their role in your life? What are you afraid of losing if you don't and they don't get it? Are they going to love you less? Well, if they don't love you just because you don't explain yourself or they don't get you, why would you want that person in your life? That'll save you some time learning that one right away. And you might as well eliminate all the extra. Because right now, where we're at in the world today, this crazy lunar solar eclipse stuff that's going on right now, I know you felt it. If it wasn't affecting you, don't worry, we're not out of it yet. What's happening is we're all being pressurized, okay? This is the message that came in over all of this reflection and revelation. We're all being pressurized, just like a diamond. Because the more you're squeezed, the only thing that's going to remain is what's structurally sound. Again, it may bring you to your knees. But as you're being squeezed, what it's revealing is what was meant to stay, what was real and what was fake. The lies of significance get revealed to unveil our utmost truth. Think about that. The lies we've told ourselves, the lies of significance. This is important. I can't, I have to. Like the BS, the belief systems, our own lies, our own mental constructs, the stories we've created. The more you're squeezed, the more you're confronted to confront that. Because then you're like, wait a minute here, is this really that important to me? You really gotta like go, okay, I can only hold on to so much before I explode. And then you start to recognize, you prioritize and go, whoa, that's really not that important. I don't need that shit. Oh, I can get rid of that. I mean, this could be physical, a mental, and emotional things that are coming up for you. You may need to just purge your closet. I'm going through serious selling of all sorts of stuff because obviously I got a whole new style to work on. But if anything, be grateful because change is a beautiful thing. It's an empowering opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to face with courage all of your fears and to strengthen your reserve, because as you face the fear, that makes you that much stronger. And we build our courage and we recover quicker. And when we go straight on in. We face that fear right on, like, oh, it's an angry lion looking at us. When we face that fear, which isn't even real because it's a construct, 9 times out of 10, you can look at your past and recognize that wasn't so bad, was it? And the sooner you face it, the sooner you're over it. And then you can move on to the next and the next. And the more you do it, practice makes progress. And without practice, we can't progress. So our life is set up to strengthen our character, to remind us that we are resilient, because God never gives us more than we can handle. As that sounds like, yeah, oh man, oh, like me and my sister have this little joke. We're like, oh, there you go again, handing me this crap. I thought I was done. It's okay, because we have humor. That's the beauty of life, is like when you stop taking yourself so seriously, you start to be humbled and you go, okay, it's all funny. Maybe not in the moment, but there will be a moment when you do look back and laugh. Because isn't that the funny running joke that we all say? Don't worry, one day you'll look back on this and laugh. I do that a lot, actually. And I'm like, dang, okay, I get it. That's why I had to go through that experience. And if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't be here today. We don't always know the reason for things. But in hindsight, when we reflect, we look back, we start to connect dots. We start to see the patterns, the cycles, because everything comes in cycles. When things are meant to clear, when things are meant to go away, that as we're presented with the change, that the end of one cycle opens you up to a new one. And that was my big gift, was recognizing I'm getting a clean slate right now. That the connection, the connecting the dots, that Buddy was a big part of that past with Tom. As much as I didn't want to let Buddy go, Buddy had to let me go. He had to earn his wings so I could spread mine. And no longer be holding on to the resentment or the past or the grief. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have noticed how I can avoid grief. How I hadn't completed and resolved a lot of my past grief. How my pattern has been to put the needs of others above my own. And that in this past week and a half, that it's been very imperative and important for me to be present in my grief, to deeply honor and give to myself the solitude, the reflection, the awareness, the present, the gift of the now. That when it didn't feel so good, I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like getting out of bed. The life's gonna continue. I'll still be okay eventually, but I'm not gonna run from it. I'm not gonna hide from it. I need to do this for me. I'm not gonna go immerse myself in something with somebody else or take care of somebody else until I've taken care of me. Because there were several times when I know people wanted my attention, my help, and I actually had to call out, listen, I'm not going to be effective right now. And it's not personal. And I'm not making it personal. And I'm not comparing myself. See, that's the other part people don't understand. You know, it's very common, and I used to do this myself, so this causes me to be more compassionate and try to remind myself to stay centered and neutral. It's so easy for us to be uncomfortable with someone else's discomfort, even when they're comfortable and they're in their owning of it and honoring it, that we tend to disregard and compare our own stuff to theirs. Let me explain. How many of you out there have been with somebody or didn't know how to handle a friend, a loved one, when they were going through something challenging? It's real easy to say, I'm sorry for your loss. If you need anything, I will help you, or I'm here present for you. How about that? Most of the times for people who are grieving, it's nice to just know that someone's thinking of you. They reach out to check on you. Is there anything you need? Just the extension of the olive branch, right? The extension of the good favor, of the gesture of even acknowledging that you're thinking of them is usually more than sufficient. The idea that somebody cares, that's important, and that's a basic human need, is that we all want to believe that we are cared for, that someone's thinking of us, that they have our best interest at heart. But sometimes we don't feel comfortable when someone says, I'm not doing so well. And so out of that discomfort, I've been the one who's done this, and I've been the one who's also had this done too. That when someone's in their discomfort and they're like, I'm just not in a good space right now, and they just leave it at that. The best response is, I'm really sorry. If you need me, I'm here. No more. But when you turn around and you say, oh, and this too shall pass, and oh, I'm so sorry, but and I'm also going through something, like you disregard the person who's acknowledging where they're at by comparing yourself to them or your situation or whatever you're going through. It not only dismisses them and what they're going through because of your discomfort, so you're dissing them for your own discomfort that you're dissing as well. That you're not comfortable with somebody else being uncomfortable. So that's one trigger, and lots of us don't even realize we have that. I've done it. That's why I'm explaining this. But by doing that, you also reduce their experience and what they're going through. And nobody wants to feel like, oh, you're going through something? That doesn't matter. Look at my stuff. Like, you make it about yourself. And then why are you even there? Like, you're not contributing, you're not serving, you're not even solving anything for them. If anything, you're probably pissing them off even more. So I've done this, and that's why I'm bringing it up, where I've actually, out of my own discomfort, reduced their experience and dismissed it by bringing it and making it about me and my other stuff that's going on that I'm trying to cover up for my discomfort. Because that's something that humans do sometimes. We're like, I don't feel comfortable with your discomfort, and you're making me feel uncomfortable, so let me bring up something uncomfortable. Like, you're making it even worse. As the person on the receiving end of that, it causes a buildup of, like, especially when you're in the grief, the resentment. And if it is resolved grief and you're good with it, you just acknowledge and you're like, wow, that person's not comfortable with my discomfort. And they don't even see that they're reducing my situation. So I've seen it from both angles, where I can have compassion despite my going through the grief and the person's inability to handle that. So because they're uncomfortable with my discomfort that I'm okay with and I'm honoring, they don't know how to honor their own discomfort with my discomfort. Sounds like a cycle, sounds like a loop, but it is the reality of life. That we humans, we avoid the discomfort. We diss our own comfort by avoiding sitting with what is. We are so at odds with the fact that it isn't the way we want it to be, we need it to be, we expect it to be, that we reject it, which makes it worse. We don't heal it. We just make it worse to suppress it, and then it'll come up later again. Because the more we diss something, the less we can find our comfort. The more discomfort we are avoiding, the more we numb out to our own comfort. So you may say, oh, but I want to be happy and I'm not in this good relationship, and yet you keep dissing what needs to be done, which is why you're not happy. And then you're numbing because you just want the routine and the familiar, as opposed to the discomfort of trying something new in the unfamiliar. Because when you have to make a change, you have to mourn what was that loss. That's going to be lost. It's going away. to start anew, which is the cycle of death, the rebirth. You have to be willing to let one thing go to allow for something new to come in. And most of us don't know how to do that. That's the hardest part of death, of the cycles of life, of change, is the letting go because of the familiar, because of the melancholy, the nostalgia, that we just want to hold on to it because, because I know it's all up in here. When over here, the new is something completely new, and it's going to surprise and delight you in ways you have no idea, but your mind is there to protect you. It's not there to make you happy. Your mind is only there for protective purposes. It is saying, warning, warning, we don't know what it is. We can't control it. It's got to be bad. It assumes the worst because it doesn't know how to put itself in the best case scenario. So that's a trick you got to teach yourself. You got to learn how to flip the switch in your own mind, that when your mind goes into the negative Nancy of the possible worst case scenarios, that you're already going, not today, Satan. We need to flip the switch and think of all the best possibilities. Infinite possibilities in your favor. Because when you have the courage to change, the universe steps toward you even more than you move forward. So even just the sheer mental decision, the idea that, you know what, this ends today, I'm done. I'm going to make a schedule. I'm going to make a change in my routine. I'm going to do this, that, or the other. Just by making the conscious effort and choice in a mindful way, in an approach that says, every day I'm going to do something that brings me closer to what that change is going to be. The universe conspires to come toward you even more. So for every one step, the universe is coming at you 10. But see, that's part of the trickery of our mind, is it wants to protect you. It doesn't know. And so when you are in awareness of when your mind starts going in the crazy loops that it does, then you can confront it and step back and take a deep breath. There's the gift of the now. What is coming up? Because again, we have to go through the cycles and we have to honor the emotions, that energy that's stagnant in you, that's a mental construct. Because the body says, something's not right up in that mind again. You're feeling discomfort in the body. Because we're ending cycles right now and we're all being squeezed. Why? We designed this life for ourselves. We actually determined what we would experience to polish us like diamonds, to prepare us for what we came here for. You can't dismiss any of that, or you'll miss. If you diss, you will miss. You will miss what is meant for you. And so even in the moment when you're at your worst, you are at your lowest, you are feeling like, defeated, depleted, energetically drained, and sucked dry. And I'm telling you, I've been here. Been here for a while, not just this past week and a half. Yes, I prepared myself for this transition of my body. I thought that was the best part because thank God I did that much work on myself that I didn't just go into this going, oh my God, it's my body. No, I'm grateful that I was mentally and emotionally and spiritually and just this whole physical preparation, because I know how important it is to me that I honor everything that comes up. Because I want to walk the walk. I'm not here to talk and do as I say, not as I do type. No, that's me and my integrity. That when I show up to you and I share my experience, this is me. I ain't trying to be anybody else but me. And why should anybody try to be anything other than what they are? That's more exhausting than anything. Putting on a mask, trying to pretend, oh, I'm all hunky-dory, I'm fine, I'm fine. How many of you out there done that? I've been doing that a lot in my life in the past. I'm fine. And when you have, like I said, the nurturing people pleaser as one of your patterns. Oh, take care of everybody else. Are you okay? Because I got a Libra rising. That can be to my detriment. So I'm always trying to make sure everybody's taken care of. But if, again, my cup is not full, I can't pour from it. And so this past week and a half, I'm like, I need to do more for me right now. And it means saying no to people. It means stepping back, disengaging, not being available. And for some people, that's a toughie. That's a real big toughie, because then it's like, wait a minute here, you know, and I've already expressed this in my videos, in that this past couple years, I've noticed the people who are the takers and the people who are the receptive givers. Like what I've been giving to them, I get back in return. It's a small ass circle right now. And every time I turn around, someone else reveals themselves to me even more, and how selfish they really truly are. And that they only show up when they need something from me, and that they're not there when I need something. They talk the talk, they give me the lip service, but do I have to go running around trying to like go through my Rolodex of who is actually available to me? That sucks, you know? And that was also part of this grieving process, is recognizing, you know, not everybody's meant to be in my life. I'm not meant to be accessible to every single person just because they like me, or I don't want them to reject me, or they say nice things to me, or they share my videos, or, you know, whatever. I'm just saying that you're worth more than that. I'm worth more than that. That I deserve to receive as much as I give. And that this was part of my healing over this past week and a half, was recognizing that old pattern, that wow, because I'm 47, gonna be 48. I'm looking at it going, I had to grow up really quickly when I was young, because of the things that happened with me and my sisters, with the different things. I, out of my own childlike mind, felt obliged to become the mother for my mother and my father, to become the mother to my sisters, even though that's not what they asked for. It was this something in me that felt the need to protect them even that much more, because of the circumstances. That I can see a person's, I've always been able to see a person's soul, to see their good, to see the love in them. Everyone has it. And see, the part of me and the naivete has been seeing that, but not where they're at. You can see through to a person's soul. The eyes are the windows to the soul, but that doesn't mean that's where they're living in their integrity. They may not be aligned. They're not there yet. And so my ideal of thinking that, well, that's their potential, so they'll get there. Yeah, but I may never see it. So I have to honor the person where they're at, not where I think they should be, or I see them potentially being. So seeing your soul doesn't mean that you're in alignment with it. Because if you're not in alignment with who you are, in your integrity, walking your talk, it's going to be a whole lot harder to align to your soul. And that's another example of dissing yourself, and the mission and the reason you're even here incarnated in this human experience. Because you're a soul having a human experience. You're here to upgrade, to level up. We're all here doing it individually, but it's a collective collaboration, because God, the universe, source, all of it is being leveled up through us. We've never been here before. That's the message I've gotten over the years. That this leveling up, this is some big time energy. You gotta get on board. Work through your shit. Get into your shadow and get muddy. Get into the yuck, the muck. Because truly, that's where the golden nuggets are. Those are where the gifts really reside. For me to recognize that I've been acting like I'm just this natural nurturer, no, that's just been a pattern. I am. That is who I am, and we all are at the heart. But the fact that I was neglecting my own needs for those needs of others, and not honoring myself first, yeah, that was humbling. And nobody's to blame, nobody's to shame. And I don't need to explain myself. And so that was the other gift that I was sharing. We get so caught up in this idea that I have to explain myself, that people have to get us. They need to understand me. If you don't understand yourself, nobody's going to be able to understand you. Nobody can stand under someone who's not standing inside themselves. Like, you got to understand yourself, know thyself well, to radiate out and even give anybody some inkling and impression energetically of who you really are. Again, you're going to draw to you, magnetize where you're at. Whoever shows up to you, they show up to you where you're at. And so when we are triggered, when we are caught off guard by these people that we're like, oh my God, what the heck was that about? That's when we need to reflect. Wow, how am I treating myself? Sometimes we just can't see ourselves past our own shit. We literally will just be in denial that we were doing that on the inside, that it showed up on the outside. I've had that happen plenty of times. I'm like, I just don't understand. And then I'm like, okay, I get it. So like I had to step it back, walk away, go do my movement, and then the drop-ins, then the downloads, then the message comes, and I'm like, oh, there it is. But when we get caught up in our BS, our dogma, our belief systems, whew, that's just the need to be right, not the need to be happy. And again, the mind is there to protect you from harm. It's the heart that will never lead you astray because it's the mind that gets in the way. The heart is about being happy. And that's where, when we drop into our heart, we really recognize the gift is being here, present in the moment, being in our body right here, right now. Stop playing a little escapist routine of like, I wanna go take some alcohol or smoke something or whatever it is that your escapism is. We all got addictions of some nature. Whatever it is you do to soothe, when you're in a mood, you reach for a certain food because it soothes the mood. No, it doesn't. It just reinforces the mood. So comfort eating, be aware. Like, even if you're doing it, just own it. Look in the mirror and go, I'm going through some stuff right now, and I'm actually, eating this food as a result. Like, really acknowledge it and be like, wow, I reached for this because I was craving that flavor. It doesn't have to be a self-sabotaging experience. It can be a mindful one. But first you have to acknowledge it. You cannot be mindful of something unless you have awareness of it. See, awareness is the key to unlocking the door to recognizing the thoughts in the mind. And that mindfulness gives you the ability to confront the thoughts, the beliefs, the stories, and to say, is this still serving me? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Or has it outlived its life expectancy? Life cycles, we're here to end certain cycles so we can create new cycles. That's what this time is about. So when you're feeling the pressure of overwhelm, try to become present with the now. Recognize that change will bring grief, and grief is signaling the changes that are occurring. Deep rest, depression, that's like, oh, the past. I'm feeling loss for what was and will no longer be. Anxiety, based on the past, I'm anticipating such and such. They're all stories. They're not even real. But sometimes we need to actually just sit in them, maybe journal them, think about them, confront them. At a certain point, I'm going to tell you, you get tired of your own shit and you finally are like, okay, I'm done with this. Because you realize it really isn't helping and that it's just part of your pattern. But you have to want change. You have to be willing to do the work. And doing the work is not always easy. It's not always pretty. It can be downright scary, sometimes obliterating. But when you do the work, there's less to do. There's always going to be something to do. But when you are willing to go in, all in, you'll be presented with something that's everything, your all, and so much more. Like I say in so many of my videos, when you go all in life, you show up to it and say, I'm going to love with all my heart. And then when it's all over, said and done, you're grieving it because it's no more. Because you were so willing to go all in, to open your heart, it hurts that much more. It stings that much more because of your love. But that's the gift and the cycle that occurs. So when you recognize you're going through deep pain, also acknowledge how much you loved that brought you to the pain. Because when you have that deep pain, it's going to reinforce the reminder that because you love so deeply, the gift of that love was the pain. And so because you have that pain, you will have that love again, even deeper, if you don't lose the lesson and the blessing in it. That as you were served up on the golden platter, this pain, it was just the gift that you were so willing to love so openly, so deeply. And you will have it again and again and again and again. And it's just meant to be amplified. As they say, unless your heart is broken, the light can't get in. Be willing to allow it. Be willing to go all in. Be willing to just be curious, like a child, and go back to that inner child. Go back to that neglected inner child and bring them along for the ride. Stop poo-pooing on your playfulness, because we all got some little play in us, and we need to bring that out more. Even in these times of craziness and being pressurized, like, that's where you need to get out and play more, because you're getting way too serious. Yeah, there are moments where, it's good to go within, it's good to contract, because that's what we do. We contract and we expand. At all times, we're either expanding or contracting. We're breathing in, expanding, and then we exhale and we're contracting. It all comes in and it all goes out. As above, so below, as within, so without. If you remember, there's duality, there's cycles. For every good, there's a bad. But it's only because of the imbalance. Oh no, there's a bird in my chimney. I heard the flutter. Uh-oh. In order to seek balance, the imbalance presents itself. When we're balanced, we don't see imbalance. So again, we are swinging on the pendulum of life. Sometimes we're way over here in the excitement of it all, which is still as much as of an imbalance because we're not neutral. And then sometimes we're over here in the pain and the suffering. Again, we're not in balance. Do you know, just like I told you, deep love yields deep pain. And all that is showing you, there's also in between, but it's the imbalance. And that's when you're on that pendulum. It just shows you where on the pendulum you are. Because the contrast is so stark, is so profound, you don't see it. So that's where we come back to the middle way, to the neutrality, that in this life, we're here to be reminded. It's up to us to maintain the balance of life. When one cycle ends, another one begins. Life is constantly changing, evolving. Energy is in motion, constant. Even though everything could be looking still, there's energy moving all the time. So therefore, nothing is ever as it was or will be, because change is evolution. Energy and motion, always, in all ways. That's just part of life. And not, because even as we die, the body may change, but we are still a soul that continues on with the energy. Oh, baby, please find your way up the chimney. Oh, this is not the first time that's happened. So I was sharing this with everyone because I know these are trying times on the psyche, on the body. Whew, it is like, wow, we are all being flooded. But I wanted to share my revelations because I know I'm not alone. And neither are you. Let me know in the comments what you're going through. What is arising for you? What cycles are ending? Are you allowing yourself to fully grieve, to feel, to acknowledge that it's stirring up something from the past. Because again, like I said earlier, when we go through a trauma, a grief, anything unresolved from our past also comes and gets lifted back to the surface. And we re-experience every single one of our traumas, especially the unresolved ones, all in that moment. So just be kind on your mind, gentle on your heart, and loving with your body. We're all going through major upgrades. It's time to level up. But the only way to level up is sometimes to get deep down into your own muck, to really sit in your shit. Because that's a part of your life too. It's all contributing. And in order for us to be whole, we have to own our shadow and our light and merge them together as one. They say, when thy eyes become one. Duality is two. When we see through these eyes, we're not seeing the full picture. We're seeing two halves of the whole. When we close our eyes and we go within, this is how we merge the duality. That's the middle way. Merging duality to the wholeness of you. Integrating into me I see. This is thine eye. Closing thine eyes to be one. That's what wholeness, oneness is all about. And that's the gift of this life, is us figuring it out. It's through our experience that we are basically in this maze of life, remembering, reconnecting who we are, what we came here to do, and where we came from. We're not that far off either. Things are being revealed to us every single day, every moment. Be open to the possibilities, infinite possibilities, and see them always as positive potential. Or not. So, here's one of my new terms today. Things of no substance. Tons. Don't those weigh, they weigh down on you. When we recognize that we've been holding on to tons of weight, things of no substance, boy, let that stuff go. We lighten up. Everything feels like, oh, okay, I'm getting a new lease on life. My body's feeling lighter. Everything's changing. And I have to say, every day is a new day. Like for me and my boobs, the most I can do is just be loving on myself right now. And some days I have tenderness in my breast still. I mean, I'm just over the 5-week mark. But I'm making myself a priority. Like, you know, I'm also learning what I like to wear. Like this dress felt so good to me today. You know, I put it on. I'm like, look, I can still wear this. This is the kind of style, the goddess dress. It feels good to be back in my own full skin, to not have 2 toxic sacks guarding my heart. Like this, I had fear going into surgery. And then I reminded my mind, but you're going to be sleeping, you're going to be out, you're going to be under anesthesia. So once they put that in you, you're gone. You're just going to wake up with them gone. So like, that's the kind of thing that your mind tries to protect you through, as if you're going to get cut and you're going to feel the pain during the process. Listen, my experience with this surgery, I didn't even have pain coming out of it, except for where the tubes were. I didn't take any pain medication. I just juiced. I took my magnesium glycinate. I've been using Arnica montana. I've been taking it orally, bromelain, reishi chaga, cordyceps, the medicinal mushrooms, whole food, plant-based, keeping it really simple. Now I did start drinking coffee again this week because, you know, I like my coffee. I need to, you know, not do it too much, but it is my thing. I love coffee. It's one of the things I loved about living in Europe. But there are so many wisdoms of the body that we don't listen to. My body, it tells me when I have something toxic in it. You know how? When it's starting to flush Okay, and ladies and gentlemen out there, if you notice this, you know, this is like one of those, oh, that's a sign of menopause or periomenopause or pre, la, 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 la. No, it's your body telling you something toxic in your body, and we're trying to sweat it out. So when you feel the flush or the heat, oh, I'm having a hot flash, that's your body just trying to detoxify. It's trying to pull toxins, heavy metals, foreign objects. Your body heats up. Here's some of the symptoms, or not the symptoms. Here's some of the things that my body heats up on when I have it. Coffee. As much as I love coffee, my body gets heated. Well, it's also a stimulant, right? So your body will do that. Chocolate, again, caffeine, it's a stimulant. Salt. Oh yeah, my body goes, whoo, you just had something salty. Spicy, another spicy one, another stimulant. Typically, hot flashes are just the result of stimulants. Not necessarily good, not necessarily bad. Are you going to turn around and say, oh, that's not what it is because you don't want it to be? See, there you go again. Just because it's not what you want, and you're holding on to dear life like, but I love my coffee, I'm not going to deny myself. Well, just don't deny the fact that it gives you a flash. It makes you sweat. Own it. It won't own you. But to call it a hot flash and label it, you limit yourself. And I don't believe in all these labels. I don't believe in all these diagnoses. Why? They're disempowering. Your body is so freaking wise. If you just tap into your body's language, like learn the wisdom of your own body, nobody can give you the answer. You need to tap into it. That's your into me, I see. That's the intuition. When you tap into the five senses and what you feel, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch, what you see, all of this, that's part of your spidey sense. When you hone in and you fine tune your senses, because we are extrasensory beings, people. If you weren't sensitive and you were insensitive, you'd be tuned out, numbed out to life. So you want to be sensitive because you're meant to be. That's what the five senses are highlighting. And so when you tap into it, you tune it up and you like really hone in, that's what it heightens your intuition. You want to heighten your intuition? Pay more attention to your senses. Like when you eat. Smell the food. Use all five of your senses. And even the Indians using all five of your fingertips. They eat with the hands because each one of the fingers represents a planet. And then when you touch your lips with all of the fingers, it completes this whole cycle of energy, and the way that you're feeding yourself nourishes you even deeper. Wow. You can do some research on that if you like. Or you can let me know in the comments. I'll talk more about that. Let me know what it is that maybe it is I can share and glean some wisdom for you that helps you see things differently than the way you do. That's what life is here for us, to challenge our BS, our belief systems. Like, you should always be evolving to the point where your belief systems, you know, they serve you to a point, and then just like anything, you put them out to the trash. They no longer even apply. And that's a lot of what's going on right now. So the pressure that everyone's feeling is essentially the clearing out of the old insignificant. The lies of significance that we've been telling ourselves are being revealed, because essentially what that shows is what's true. When that no longer has the glue, all that remains is what is true. So stop being attached. As much as we all are, the more willing you are to let go, the more life will flow. But it's a challenge in the mind. So, all right. Next video that I'm going to do, I want to talk more. This is my intention. I want to talk more about the toxins that breast implants actually leach out into the body, because my body has been going through waves, and I go through, I'm feeling great, and then I'm feeling pain. And then I know my body's really pulling some stuff out of the, the muscles, out of the joints, like wherever toxins get lodged, they really do like to attach to fat cells. I don't have a lot of fat on me, which is a good thing. But, armpits, lymphatic, you got to move, you got to use different ways to detoxify the body. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in my next video. But I really hope that this video serves anyone out there that's going through similar stuff that I've been going through. I mean, I know when I'm going through something, it's on a collective level. Because what's going on within me is also contributing, and it's just as much an impact on the collective. So when we heal ourselves, we're healing the whole. We're healing everyone around us. So never dismiss or reduce your need to heal you. Because when you heal you, you heal the rest of us too. Yeah. So let me know in the comments how this served. Lots of love to all of you. Make sure you share the video with somebody who may need this. Yeah, we're going through some really powerful times right now. And the best gift you give yourself is not to run away from it. Sit in it. Lean into it. Allow it to give you the lesson, the blessing. Sometimes the gift without a bow may not feel so great, but the reality is there's purpose in your pain. And we're all going through something, all of us. So try not to dismiss your feelings and what you need to do for you. And don't do that to another one or anybody else. So lots of love to each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing evening. Free the tatas. I belong to the itty bitty titty committee again. I'm hoping they fluff up a little bit more. I'm going to be back in the gym. I got to work on my pecs. Actually, really what's been feeling good is stretching my arms out. Oof. See, I have this pull that really hurts all through here. And this was from even when I had my implants. Like, I really feel like that constriction and restriction that's caused my right arm and shoulder problems was all related. And I actually read somebody's post in the breast implant removal groups, and they said the same thing, that the doctor said it was related for them. So everyone have a wonderful evening. I love you so much. You matter. Don't try to explain yourself to anybody, because all that matters is you know you. If somebody wants to know you, you got to be radiating the understanding so they can understand. Love you.